Let's get out of this one. Bear with me a second. I want to make sure that I'm out of my accounts here. Practice what I preach. All right. My apologies, ladies and gentlemen. Let me put this back up on screen. So I'm going to type in Jonas's extension, his username. All students' usernames are their district ID numbers at pway.org.
Chris,
Now, don't worry.
Sorry, it's 103 at the beginning.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You got it. Okay.
Keep in mind, we do not issue email addresses. Thank you, Rebecca. We do not issue email addresses to our students. So you don't have to worry about your child having access to email back and forth without you having any knowledge of content. We do not use email addresses. As you can see, it's a little odd because in our district, we use Windows logins whenever we have children log into accounts. So for the first time, you may see this, and you've received information from your teachers on how to log in. So this is just an added layer that you have on the first login. Obviously, Jonas has never logged in on this computer before. So the password is also one that is given to you by your teachers. Please keep in mind that once you receive these login credentials, it's a great idea to have them written down somewhere, just in case something happens with the device. It accidentally gets resets, a device breaks, whatnot. So it always makes sense for you to have it kind of written down so you have those credentials. Now, honestly, if you don't, any teacher has access to the password and would be able to get it back to you. So I'm going to go to classroom.google.com now that I'm all logged in. And again, I apologize, just a little extra layer of using the home computer. There we go. All right, so as you can see, I did make mention that we don't have the classes connected to Genesis yet. Those would show up right here. They would all have a window very similar to this with the subject listed up here. In this case, Jonas's teacher of record is Miss Hanson. As you can see, Miss Hanson has been getting very creative with her Bitmoji. In each one of these tabs, you'll see that there is a folder that can take you directly to the contents of the course. In this case, Classroom Corner originally was put into place to give parents overarching information, Zoom links, announcements, and such. While we are waiting for Google to authenticate our Genesis account, our teachers have actually already been using this to help with assignments, to help with curricular information. So once our curricular tabs do come in from Google, you'll see different tabs for each one of the courses. So I'm going to go into Classroom Corner. And as you can see, Ms. Hanson has put in quite a bit of information for Jonas and his family to take in. Now, the first thing we see up here is the stream. The stream is the information hub of each one of the courses. As you can see, Ms. Hanson has kept it kind of neat and clean to where there's not a whole bunch of things to scroll through. You can see that she's reminding her families that there's no school on November 5th and 6th. Have a great weekend. You can also tell from a curricular standpoint that she is sharing some things for foundations. There's a home support unit for Unit 3, and then there's also a Spanish edition. So she's using this stream to share documents, which she can definitely do. You'll also see that there's a link to Dr. Morgan's Respect ticket drawing. So anytime there are any type of special things going on, whether it be Pajama Day or a special Spirit Week or whatnot, Classroom Corner can have those type of announcements in there as well. And of course, moving down a little bit, Ms. Hanson puts in her class Zoom link, and she's been taking advantage of a lot of the workshops that we've been offering. She has taken the time to create a Bitmoji class. So if you're not familiar with Bitmoji classes, this is a Bitmoji class. You have the Bitmoji of the teacher, and you can see as you wander through her virtual class for our emergent readers, there are areas where children can click on to get to the places they need to go. So for example, to get to the Zoom, Ms. Hanson tells her students to open up her Bitmoji class and click on the computer for Zoom. It takes the idea of reading or navigating a Zoom link out of the needs of a child to navigate. As we go around her Bitmoji class, you can see that the class schedule is hyperlinked. You can see that the reading program Epic also turns into a hyperlink. Go Math series, math manipulatives down here, number line. So as you can, if you notice that teachers do put up Bitmoji classrooms, it's kind of fun to navigate through to see the types of things that they've done. They've hidden different sites in many of them. And you can see that as Ms. Hanson is building, she's looking to add those bins in further. So let me go back to Classroom Corner. And for her students also, here she made another Bitmoji classroom for specials. At this point in time, because of the Genesis, waiting on Google to work with Genesis, your children don't necessarily have the courses for their creative arts. And quite frankly, the teachers have been predominantly using Zoom for interactive lessons as they get to know children and they get to start. So you can see this is obviously Randolphville because that's Mrs. Reynolds, our digital literacy teacher. So we know that Jonas has digital literacy 9:55 to 10:30 on Monday, and this is the Zoom link for that. So at this point, if I'm Jonas's parents, I know that at 9:55 I can open that link up, press on that little Zoom character, and I'll go right into digital literacy Zoom session. And as such for Spanish, for gym, for music, and for art. And as you can see, we have some rather creative teachers who have immersed themselves in Bitmoji. So the stream offers quite a different resources here that the teacher can keep current and keep up to date on. You'll find in the Classroom Corner that Ms. Hanson is probably not going to make the stream too long with older posts and such, as you can see, this was a post from the 8th, and she edited it for October 15th. Here's for October 23rd. She edited as of 1:19 today. So Ms. Hanson's going in and she's refreshing these staples in her stream, which allow for a centralized location. As you come to the left, she does have the option to assign work, and we'll talk about classwork in a few, but the classwork or events will show up on the upcoming thread. According to this, Jonas has been on top of things and he has no work due, nothing upcoming. Now, I know that the first grade and kindergarten, they've been working very hard to get to know kids, to get to know students. And if you go into the classroom corner and you don't see a lot of classwork streaming down the upcoming, don't worry. Maintaining Zoom correspondence with your child's teachers is key, and they are doing a wonderful job with Zoom lessons, with interactive things at this point in time. So please, oh please, oh please, if you don't see things here, please don't assume that things are not going on. Our teachers are working very, very hard, and they are laying the groundwork in these crazy times. So as they start to feel their way through the use of Google Classroom, which is new, and we need to explore baby steps as we go through, you'll see that our teachers are starting to utilize this feature some more. So if I come over also to classwork, you can see that this tab will show a list of your work and its current status. So you can see that in this case, because we're just getting started with Jonas and his teacher using some of this, she may not have assigned something through Google Classroom that could show up as missing or returned or at all. That, again, does not mean things are not going on. It's just, again, this is a relatively new endeavor for us, and our teachers are learning. They are lifelong students as well. So please don't assume that nothing's going on. The class drive folder is a folder that shows up specifically for the course here. So let's pretend that this was a social studies course. The class drive folder would have all the resources available for that course in one spot. That's the thing about Google Classroom. It's not a learning management system, but it's sort of like a traffic cop for Google Drive. It kind of directs people where they need to go. In this case, that folder would direct students toward the class drive for that class. As we come over here to people, I ask you to be very, very hesitant on utilizing this page. It is here, and it is here for students. And you can see that there is an email button. As you go through, this is linked, as you can see, to khanson@pway.org. So you do have the ability to bring up an email tab. However, you can't email from Jonas's account because Jonas does not email. Well, at least here. These are the students in the class. They do not have email addresses. They have not the ability to open this anyway. So by doing this, it's sort of like you walking into your child's class, sitting down and participating. I encourage you to leave this page alone because definitely Ms. Hanson makes herself available other ways. This will show up, but this really serves no use really for what you or your child is doing. These are the two that we concentrate on, the stream and the classwork. Now, in addition to the stream and classwork, which is used for communication, by having Google Classroom, more importantly, your K-3 children have access to the G Suite. The Google apps that appear in the G Suite, you can get by clicking on this little waffle icon. Now, very important to let you know, when we use regular Google for personal use, Google themselves tell you that there should be no expectation of privacy, that content that goes into Google Drives, essentially, you have access to, but it's also Google's because it's free. Education accounts are a little bit, or they're a lot different. Education accounts do not align to that, which means that when your child puts information in, classwork, names, whatnot, it is SIPA and FERPA compliant, SIPA being Child Internet Protection Act, which means not even Google can go into these accounts and data mine from these accounts. Education accounts are protected. So that being said, it allows students to work in federally controlled safety and security. That's why we prefer our students to go through the G Suite when they're creating things. So as we look at the waffle icon up here, it drops down to the Google apps that are available to your children. As you can see, Jonas can get back to his account anytime he wants by clicking on the J. If Jonas wishes to go into his Google Drive, like I told you, Google Classroom kind of navigates to Google Drive. His entire Google Drive is right here. So you can see there's a folder marked Classroom. And when he goes into that folder marked Classroom, you'll see folders for all the courses. Naturally, he only has the one right now, but as the Google integration happens with Genesis, you'll see science and math and social studies and reading and writing and the digital literacy and art and music. Those folders will be here. So if ever Jonas needs to get to a resource in one of those folders, he can definitely do so. Now, if he ever needs to go back to Classroom, for some reason he wants to go back to his tabs, he can always click on Classroom and it'll take him back, provided he's still logged in, to all his tabs. Now, inside the G Suite is actually productivity tools that are cloud-based. That means Jonas could go to any internet computer that he can log into, and if he wants to show you some work, he can do so. Google Docs is similar to Microsoft Word in comparison. It's a word processing interface. The great thing about these items up here is that they are interactive, to where Ms. Hanson could put an interactive doc or sheet or slide in there, and all her students can work on it in the same time. The reason why we like the fact that G Suite is in for our K-3 students and it's an education interface is that only those students that Ms. Hanson gives access to can get in. I've read articles over many, many years, luckily not out of Piscataway, but of high schools that teachers create interactive Google Docs and they don't use an education account. And as a result, any anonymous person can come in and basically put up whatever you want. And you can use your imagination. I'm not going to get too graphic here, but those type of instances have happened. We don't want that for our K-3 students. That's why we are on an educational account. So Ms. Hanson can give a Google Doc to all the students to collaborate on, some of the students to collaborate on, or she has the ability to give each student a copy of the same document. So she could give Jonas a copy of a fill in the blank, which she probably wouldn't use that for a fill in the blank, but maybe a short answer essay, because we know that happens in first grade. But nonetheless, they are able to give copies of documents that children are able to fill out and submit back in and maintain dialogue back and forth with the teacher. Sheets are more like Microsoft Excel. I know that our digital literacy program in the K-3 starts to dabble in Excel and sheets and spreadsheets a little bit for charts and graphs, but not as much, but it is here. And we certainly, as we take our baby steps, can leverage those programs. They are here. Slides is very much like Microsoft PowerPoint. I've seen teachers in instance create interactive PowerPoints where each child gets a slide and they are able to build. So these are possibilities that are available to us now on a cloud-based, which means that we can do them outside of school as well as inside of school, hopefully as that possibility opens up safely. This one right here is Google Meet. Now, we are a Zoom district. We utilize Zoom, so we will not be using Google Meet. Funny enough, Google pre-pandemic was weighing the option whether they were going to keep Meet or not. That's why we didn't go into it and explore it as much. Since then, it seems that they've done a little bit of rethinking and they may look to continue utilizing Google Meet. This is similar to a Zoom interface. Zoom does offer more options and is a little more robust, but it remains to be seen if Meet will be better. But for right now, we are a Zoom district and we do not use this facet. Coming down even more, there are two things that are great tools when you're talking about G Suite. Forms. Our teachers have the ability to create questions and tests to where they can automatically score and compile data. You may see some tests or some assignments as we start to continue to learn the system coming out in forms. And Jamboard. Jamboard is a great drawing and interactive tool that students can use. And I especially find this a great tool for emergent readers who maybe aren't as skilled with typing or reading, but they do want to share, and they can use Jamboard to use other means to be expressive. All right, so I'm going to click back on Classroom. And I want to show these features as well. The to-do list goes across all classes. So once we get Jonas's Genesis courses in here, this is a great option to show you what Jonas has to do across all his classes. You can bear down on just specific classes if you want. Perhaps Jonas is not doing well in one class and you want to give a little extra view on that class. You can see what was assigned specifically for that class. I know at grade 3, our students start to have different teachers and see different rooms. So maybe you're not speaking to the same teacher here. So this is a great way to kind of pare down on the classes a little closer. You can also see across all classes if anything is missing. Luckily, Jonas has been keeping up with his work. Just kidding, but he doesn't have any missing work. You can also go in and you can review completed work if you want to see what your child has been up to as far as some of the things they've been able to do. All right. At this point, what I'd like to do is I'm going to Mrs. Sterlaki, we seem to have somebody joining us. I don't know if you got them. Did we record, by the way?
Yes. Yes.
Oh, great. Okay. So the way I see it, I have myself, Mrs. Sterlaki. I do have a few teachers that have sat in, but we are definitely under 8 for parents. So I'm checking the chat and I don't see anything in the chat, but what I'd like to do is, Mrs. Sterlaki, can we unmute everybody?
Everyone can unmute themselves when they want to now.
Excellent. So basically we call this portion, and please understand that this is with a bit of humor, and I'll explain. This is what I call breaking out the piñata sticks. I've been in trainings where we've had people who were had a lot of questions and maybe they weren't happy with things. And that's not just with Piscataway, that's been overall my years in education. So basically what I prefer to do is I prefer to stand in the middle of the room and really just field the questions as they come in. And in essence, people take a swing with a piñata stick. I know you guys are obviously going to be very, very gentle with me, but I appreciate unmuting and just firing the questions away. I actually cracked into the chat here and I see Mrs. Rakita. Hi, Mrs. Rakita, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for visiting another one of our series. It's always great to see you because I like your background with the Chili Willy on it. So that's how I know you came in the room. I'm going to share the question here. Will you offer another class when we are up and running fully on Classroom? I'm going to answer that with a better answer than that. And usually we do this at the end. We call this a workshop series, and we do this for a reason. The supervisors in our C&I department in Piscataway schools, we recognize the fact that things are going to change, that needs are going to change. There are going to be needs that come up from parents and from students that we need to be in a position to address. Sometimes the 6 administrators that are holding this series, we're not going to be the foremost authorities on what we're going to hold. For example, the need may come for something on mental health or relaxation or mindfulness or the integration of art in learning. What we're going to do is we are going to listen to you, our parents, and we are going to let what you ask us dictate the workshops we're going to hold. So if you're asking, Mrs. Rakita, then the answer is yes. And wholeheartedly, yes, 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 yes. We want to keep offering things that you want to be a part of. We want to grow our audience, and we want to support our teachers, our parents, and our students by what we can do. And we're appreciative that you give the time that you have during the evening for it. So we're going to make it worth your while. There's another question in there. Is this replacing Class Dojo? That's a great question. During this period of time, what we don't want to do is I had a conversation with a teacher about this as well. And they were very, very clear on asking me and explaining what they used Class Dojo for in the past. In many ways, this will replace facets of Class Dojo. And in that regard, we don't want to have 30 different platforms that kind of do the same thing. But what I did mention is once we get our legs around about us, because we also don't want to task our teachers with learning 30 different things to use in this new norm. Sakes alive, it's tough to learn in this new norm. It is so tough to teach in this new norm. And anybody who asks a teacher to throw everything but the kitchen sink technology-wise, it's just not doable. So we recognize that there are facets of Google Classroom that do the things we need to do, and we're going to learn how to do that and use that to its fullest capacity. In which case, then maybe we look at other programs that have certain facets in it. For example, the badge system does come up whenever I talk about Class Dojo. There's a positive badge system. There's also a punitive badge system, which I'm not a fan of. But in there, Google Classroom doesn't necessarily have a native badge system. So when we talk about including that in a digital outlay, we're going to talk about why would Class Dojo come into our situation. And if a program belongs and it does something that is necessary, we'll bring it in. Much like you'll notice on the iPads, we have Flipgrid, we have Nearpod, we have Edpuzzle in some cases for your grades 4 through 12. So this, in effect, is replacing the biggest part of Class Dojo for the simple reason that not every teacher was using Class Dojo, and the organization fact doesn't really lend itself with ease to many teachers, one student. Feel free to unmute if you want, if you feel more comfortable asking. We definitely would like to hear you.
Thank you for the clarification. So I think what I'm understanding is we're slowly going to transition from Class Dojo to Google Classroom. And if parents have to just check in on the kids' work, that's where they would be going eventually, correct?
Correct. And now please understand that there are some teachers that don't use Class Dojo. Our third grade teachers last year were still using Schoology because that's what was available to them. So
Okay.
so for a third grade teacher, they would not necessarily be moving from Class Dojo. They'd be moving from Schoology. So we believe that to provide something across the boards that is stable to where a child doesn't have to learn 50 different ways to do something. The one thing that we need them to do is key. So Dr. Baskerville has been very, very adamant about making sure that we really start to explore Google Classroom at the K-3 level. And then as we start to move into where we feel that we can establish what our other needs are, we will as a district. And obviously, we're going to listen to our teachers and listen to what we don't have. They all pretty much have my email, and most of them, if not all of them, have my cell number. And they haven't been shy about getting a hold of me. And that's the way it should be. So we're going to continue discussions, but right now we're concentrating on getting Google Classroom right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Will Google Classroom mimic Schoology to a point?
To a degree. Schoology is actually a learning management system. That's its only function is to work as a kind of an online classroom platform. So there's a lot of things that you can do in there that you maybe can't do in Google Classroom. Google Classroom, by their own admission, is not a learning management system. What it does is it pretty much routes you to the G Suite functions that it wants you to go to. It'll route you to your child to docs or to forms or to slides, and it'll keep the Google Drive of all that stuff that you're using. So Schoology, I think, as we get a little older, is a lot more robust for our older students. The purpose of Google Classroom is basically to have that correspondence and to have that storage location for those type of interactive experiences.
Is there a parent login, or we would just have to check our child's iPads?
So one of the facets that once we get the Genesis portion up and running, there is something called Guardian that Google offers. And basically Guardian offers a weekly update. And I can tell you that my children's school district uses Google Classroom, and I get an email once a week that gives me kind of a breakdown of the things that they're missing, the things that, well, they better not be missing anything. We've had conversations, but if they were missing things, things they would be missing, it would give an update of some of the things that have been graded. So it gives you like a summary. Does it offer you a full walk around like Schoology or some of the other LMSs? No, it does not. But I'm speaking to the Google education representative about it, and I'm letting them know that, hey, listening to people who use the product, parents would like to get a little deeper in. Obviously in K-1, I don't think you're avoiding logging in or helping your child log in because it is an arduous task for a little guy or a little girl. So I almost think that if I'm a parent helping at the K-1, I'm still going to nose around in there and see what's going on.
Okay.
But as we start to move to a grade 2 and 3, that's where you'll probably leverage Guardian a little more because your children will be a little bit self-sufficient in navigating to facets of Google Classroom. So that's going to be coming as well.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else want to unmute? Even if you don't have a question, if you want to, praise our visual and performing arts department, and I'm just kidding, but it's great.
Miss McBride, do you want to say something?
I do. Hi, Chris. I actually have two questions. Do we have a timeline from Google of when the interface with Genesis will be ready?
So I've been speaking to that's a great question. I've been speaking to our IT department every other day, literally. Well, I talk to them every day. But on this topic, every other day to get updates. Even as the IT department, by the end of this week, like I made mention, we will be a K-12 one-to-one district. To do that, our IT department, in a short amount of time since the end of September, when devices were first made available because of the backlog, our IT department has taken in, has cased, has programmed, has imaged 5,000 iPads. They've also worked on the Google initiative at the same time. So they're working on the different projects that need to be done for our district. Our teachers also in K-5 also received new laptops to leverage. So they've been busy, but the one thing that they're telling me is they're on top of this and they're waiting for Google to give us the information. They work with a third-party company that we're all waiting for Google. So nobody is sitting on Google harder than I am. So as these updates become available, that's when I let Dr. Baskerville know as the lead administrator for the project. But I can assure you, what I'm getting within the next week or two. That's what I'm hearing as of right now from Google. No, timeframes may change, which they often do, but sitting on Google, they're telling me a week or two.
Okay. I actually have a second question.
Sure.
This is more iPad related, but some of the students just got their iPads in the last couple of weeks. And I'm wondering if there's a plan for the teachers to have iPads as well. And if
Oh,
so, if
great
that's
question.
coming soon, because I'm seeing them kind of struggle where the teachers haven't touched an iPad before and they don't know to tell the students how to swipe or how to split a screen or how to move around.
That is a wonderful question. And basically the answer to that question is rooted, the short answer is yes. The long answer is, as I mentioned to you, Apple has been particularly backlogged on devices to the point where devices that we order for for July 1 of this past summer became available to us end of September. And the numbers are limited too. Be thankful we're not a Chromebook district because there's still a 4 to 5 month backlog on Chromebooks. But that being said, the district basically leveraged the maximum amount of iPads that we can get in a district with the idea of making the student rollout the first phase. What IT is telling me is once our student rollout is finished, which we just finished with processing grade 12, and those should be going out within the next couple days. I believe that we have to leverage our pre-K students as well. And once all our students are taken care of, we look at the possibilities of starting to look toward K3 teacher iPads within this supply. Now, naturally, the idea would be to continue to order as Apple will let us. The Apple representatives also know me very well these days. So we would like to see the amount left once we're done servicing all our students that need devices, all our hardship cases and such. And I believe that we have no other way to go than to have teachers have iPads. So I can't give you a definitive date on that. It's all based on our student need being satisfied, but I'm pushing for teachers to have these devices as quickly as possible. And that being said, I do know that there was a teacher question in my other course, which talked about monitoring iPads in assisting students. Well, one of the facets that's down the line is a facet that I've been looking at for the last 3 years called Apple Classroom. It's not like Google Classroom where you're talking about workflow, but it's basically a monitoring and assistance tool that it works inside the classroom because it's Bluetooth. So as we start to move closer to brick and mortar where kids are coming back in, this is a tool that any other device you have to pay for. This is a feature that is ingrained in Apple devices. And this is obviously something we need to get closer to once we get we safely get our people back in building. As of right now, Apple Classroom does not work if your students are everywhere else. So I answered that teacher earlier in the day that they don't have the ability to keep track, provided the students are at home, of where exactly they are as far as being on task. So the reach of that software is limited to if kids are in proximity of the teacher, physical proximity. Any other questions or comments or thoughts or ideas?
Hi, I have a fourth grader and I have a question regarding Google account.
Mhm.
That how can I create that account? Do I need to request his teacher or I can independently create his Google account?
So our fourth grade for that same continuity, our fourth grades do not use Google Classroom. They use Schoology.
Mhm.
Have you had the opportunity to sign up for a Schoology parent account?
Yes, I have.
Okay, so that brings up a great point that you may or may not have intended.
Mhm.
We're looking ultimately for grades 4 through 12. Schoology works beautiful with the Google Suite, works beautiful with Microsoft 365. Our hope as a district is to continue to move toward a universal productivity to where your fourth grader would have Schoology, but they'd also have access to a G Suite and or a Microsoft 365 account. We're basically, the pandemic really hit us very hard in our plans, to the point where I'm tasked with drafting our technology plan for a district. I have the notes from February and March that basically I've had to tear up for good reasons, because we've added so many resources and so much technology into our district that the first year, almost reading it back looks silly because we've already accomplished a lot of the things by necessity that we were going to do. So moving toward a G Suite or 365 for your fourth grader, in my mind, once we kind of get things a little settled to where we can move toward new projects, is something that's been on my mind for the last 3 years. So as of right now, we do not have Google accounts from anybody beyond third grade.
Okay, thanks.
Anybody else?
I have a question.
Hello.
Hi. I have a third grader, and my question is he's been working on our laptop. So does he need to use the iPad, or it's okay if he can continue still using our laptop?
That is a great question. And I'm going to answer this with, I fully believe in my heart of hearts that you're a wonderful and amazing parent who makes the best decisions for their child as possible. That being said, if you find that your child is learning from home at this point in time, and the device that they're thriving on is that laptop, and they're able to accomplish everything that they're able to accomplish, then by all means, they are not forced to use one device over another. But I will tell you this, there are going to be apps and some programs that you will not have on your laptop that the iPad might be a better choice depending on. For example, I know in digital literacy, we do digital art and rendering, which means drawing and creating digital images. In my experiences, the iPad is unless you have a MacBook, which even still, the portability of being able to take your pictures and do things, the iPad would be the device I would pick as a parent, a learner, a teacher, all those things. So my suggestion to you is whatever is allowing your child to thrive, if you have resources at home that allow your child to thrive and you feel that your child is getting the best out of the educational experiences, then by
Okay.
all means. Now, remember, when we come back to school, they're not going to be able to carry your laptop with. So I do encourage you to allow your child to get to know the iPad and to utilize it, and to understand that it is another tool in the toolbox. We don't want to push it aside in favor. So every once in a while, Rebecca, I saw something in the chat. I think that's worth saying. Could you mention that, please?
Yeah, it's just me. We do the same thing at our house. So my son's the child we've been talking about this evening, and he uses a desktop, but keeps the iPad nearby because at certain points in the class he needs to access an app or something, and that works for him, and I think that's fine.
Yeah. No, that's great. With digital literacy, my perspective is I don't stick with one tool. I don't like to limit. What I like to do as an educator, I like to teach children how to use all the tools, but the key is I want to teach them when to pull the appropriate tool for the appropriate job. So if your child feels at a certain point in time that I can type this essay out and I could use this laptop, that's what they should use. If they're in school, there are different tools there to type that essay, but you want to make sure that they're able to establish the positive needs of each of the tools that you hand them.
Okay. My son, yeah, he used the laptop, and when he needs to have access with the iPad, he used both. So.
Oh, excellent. And honestly, I say this with a touch of humor. I am not literal on this. My kids with the iPad, I like to let them get into a little trouble. Not really, but what I mean like that, things that are aside from their schooling, when they're done with all their school lessons and their assignments and they're up to date, they'll take an iPad and they'll go out into their yard or into, a safe place where they can socially distance, but still get their eyes on some nature. And they'll take that iPad and they'll just take pictures of things around them. And they'll use those pictures and make, my children are a little older. They'll play with iMovie and they'll create little movies and everything. And they'll do it for them, not for a grade, not for a class, for them. So these are devices that you can also use to capture some things that are a little not schoolish, as far as using the movies and the camera and the clips and the video recording,
Student led creativity. Yes.
That's right. Thank you for getting there. I wanted you to say it. If your child wants to learn through something beyond what's going on in a classroom, I say the iPad's a great tool to do that too. So, and the digital literacy teachers are discussing how to use those type of tools for longer learning so they can do that. So all that's coming.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I have one more question.
Have at it.
Who do I contact about a broken iPad?
Okay, well, here's the thing. Like Dr. Seuss used to say, hang-ups and bang-ups are bound to happen. We put the iPads in pretty durable cases, but occasionally things will happen. It's been my experience, and I've been hitting it at the one-to-one for the entire 8-year span in our district, and I've seen iPad screens that you just couldn't imagine. So if something does happen, we have actually on our website, let me show you here. And you know what, Rebecca, I'm glad we're recording this one because I forgot to show this. So hold on a second. Shame on me. So, if you haven't familiarized yourself with our website, if you come over here to parents, there's something here called IT Help Desk. In our schools with our iPad programs, we've maintained a student IT help desk every morning. That's been in grade 6 through 12, to where if a child has a broken iPad, they can walk up and they can initiate a repair ticket, sort of like a Geek Squad if you were in Best Buy. Because we can't have our students walk up to a physical desk right now, we have the IT help desk. So I'm going to click on that. And you'll see that you can put in a service request with our help desk. You put in your child's first and last name. Their ID number is very important. An email address that you would like to be contacted at, their grade, their building, problem inquiry. You can see one of the options here is damaged iPad. And you can write through here, we accidentally ran over it in the driveway, or no, don't do that. But whatever happens, things happen. I mean, our cases are supposedly good for a 6-foot drop, but if you drop them 3 feet and you drop them screen first on a very sharp object, that's not going to survive very well. So this allows our IT department to get this information and to reach out to you as far as the repair process. We want to minimize the amount of time that your child's device is down. So the under parents IT help desk.
And it's actually, the screen's not broken. The jack from his headphones broke off in the hole.
Oh, okay. All right. That counts in there too. In many cases, repairing those type of things myself, it's a good idea for one of our IT techs basically get a pair of pliers and they're able to kind of maybe work a little bit with it. But they create opportunities where you can go to one of our repair sites and they'll be available and they'll fix it for you.
Okay, I will contact them. Thank you so much.
IT help desk. Also, something I didn't show before, if you go to curriculum on our homepage, I built something for you guys. Google Classroom Parent Resources. Rebecca, isn't this great? You didn't record before?
I love it.
So here we go. On our Google Classroom Parent Resources, if you want to take a little deeper of a dive in, this talks about everything about Google Classroom from a parent's perspective. If for some reason you forget classroom.google.com, I put a sign-in guide here. And then I put a few guide sheets in here. Information sheet for you guys. This one right here, this feature's coming soon, but if you want to read up on it, the Guardian PDF, which talks about everything you asked about, and it summarizes. So definitely feel free at your leisure to go in and nose around. That is under curriculum. And to my parent of the 4th grade child, I built the same thing for Schoology. Anything under the sun, where to log in if you haven't signed up as a parent. Look at this. How'd that get there? If you're looking to reach out, there's my email address. Adding multiple children. When your 3rd graders become 4th graders, you're going to need to know this. It compares your account to your child account and gives the parent guide to Schoology. We are going to build on both of these resources as parent needs come up. So I'm going to stop sharing screen. And Rebecca, you have a really cool screen that you need to share.
I'm on it.
Look at that.
So we just want to thank everybody for coming tonight and for taking time out of your evening to join us. There will be a survey that will come to you via email. As part of that survey, you can give us some ideas for future workshops. We've alluded to the fact that we want this to continue, and it's a series that will grow and meet the needs of the parents in our community. So let us know what you need and what you would like to see more of, and we'll review that to help us plan for the future. And if you still have any questions, you can submit them to the link on the screen. Or you can reach out to us too, but that's a good place that we're reviewing to find any additional questions that we can answer. And then we'll have a recording of this and all of our parent sessions available under curriculum and instruction on the district website, which is just what Chris was kind of showing you where that tab is as well. So we want to thank you so much. And if there's anything else we can answer, we're happy to do it. But if not, We wish you a great night.
So I'm gonna hang out here as long as people are in. If you have no other questions, please feel free to have a wonderful evening again. Thank you. If you have questions, I'm gonna hang out until the last person goes. So if you need to, fire away.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mrs. Rakita. Nice to see you again.
Same here. Take care.
You too.
Thanks, Chris. Thanks, Rebecca.
Thank you so much, Jackie. It's great to see you. We'll
Have a great
talk.
weekend. Thank you.
You
Bye.
too. Get some rest.
Bye.
And former Mr. State Assemblyman John